What's up and welcome to FPL Today. I'm JNO, welcome to the channel and welcome to my fixtures review for the first 3 games of the season and the teams I think we should be focusing on players from for the FPL 2017-2018 season to give us that best start into the new season. Now, I'm very similar to FPL Tips, link will be in the description and a card. I like to look at the first 3 game weeks because, let's be fair, you can look at pre-season all you like, the season starts and we get something completely different than what we're expecting. We get players like Etienne Capoue last season, managing to score 5 goals in roughly 5, 6, 7 games. So you never know what's going to happen. You can take pre-season as a little bit of a gauge of who is going to start the most often, but you have to be ready to adapt to what happens early season. So I'm going to focus on the first 3 games, not any longer than that, purely because you never know who could come in as well before the summer transfer window closes. But quickly before we move on with the video, if you want a JNO t-shirt, and there's a decent selection at the moment, check out the Spreadshirt link in the description down below. It will be closing soon because I think I'm going to move my stuff over to Teespring. So if you want to grab one before it's not available for a little bit, go and check that out now. Anyway, on with the episode, and we're starting off with Manchester City. We are looking at a team that, of course, are going to strengthen significantly. They've already bought Bernardo Silva and Ederson and are looking to buy other players. It looks like Alexis Sanchez isn't going to happen purely because Arsenal are like, look, if we're going to sell him, we're not going to sell him to you guys. However, fixture list wise and form wise are usually one of the top 4. They look pretty tasty for the first 3 game weeks of the season. The first game is against the promoted Brighton. It is away, but it is against a promoted side. This is your welcome to the Premier League, Brighton. So, Manchester City could run riot. Brighton could, of course, put a very resilient first game effort in, but you'd imagine money would be put on Man City winning this game. So the likes of Aguero, Jesus, Kevin De Bruyne, even Bernardo Silva, all looking very good options for your side. Maybe even some cheeky clean sheets as we go over these fixtures. So the defence and Ederson may be a decent option as well, depending on their prices. We then have a game against Everton at home. Now, Everton are a decent side, but they are a side that can concede a lot of goals. So maybe this is a good game for Manchester City. It is at the Etihad Stadium, so it's not the most difficult fixture against a reputable Premier Division side. And then we have a game against Bournemouth away. Bournemouth defensively have been very, very leaky. Their defence can score goals and get assists, which is why people still look at them as options, but they are known to concede quite a few. It is at Bournemouth Stadium. However, Manchester City will be wanting a great start to the season, and I reckon Pep wants that Premier League title his 2nd season in. Moving across Manchester to the red side, and we're looking at Manchester United's first 3 fixtures, and again, I think there could be some options here depending on who they bring in. My only problem is I like established players first, and with Ibrahimovic gone, there isn't really a standout player that was consistently scoring FPL points, so you may be looking at some of the ones they sign in to make the most of their first 3 fixtures. However, they are playing West Ham at home, and West Ham last season were pretty poor, especially defensively early on. Then we have Swansea away. Swansea just avoiding relegation last season. It is away, so it is in Wales. Swansea can cause upsets every now and again, but it would be a decent game to have Manchester United players in. And then it's Leicester at home. Now, Leicester have improved a lot under Craig Shakespeare, and they have already made the signing of Harry Maguire. But again, at the Theatre of Dreams, you'd hope this season Manchester United will improve on last season. So that's 3 decent fixtures for that Manchester United side. Moving on to a promoted side, and we go with the Championship champions, and that is Newcastle. They have a very difficult first fixture. Let's get that out of the way straight away. They have Tottenham Hotspurs. It is at home as well. I think Tottenham are going to have to really up their away game purely because their record at Wembley isn't good. That will probably change, but I think that could really hurt their season this year. So when they're away, they may have to put some extra work in. However, after that Spurs game, so if you can bench a Newcastle player for the first game week, you then have Huddersfield away. Huddersfield got promoted from the playoffs without winning a single game in the playoffs, which is a record, by the way. I like Huddersfield, just FPL wise, They would be a side I'm looking at thinking maybe want players playing against them early on in the season. And then you have West Ham at home as well. West Ham up at Newcastle. I imagine Newcastle could pick up points in that one as well. Speaking of Tottenham Hotspurs, that's the team we're looking at 4th, and they have the Newcastle away game. They don't have 2 home games. Now, I've already said, them playing at Wembley, it could hurt them. They could get over it. It could just be the fact that now they get a chance to play there regularly, they could improve their home form. But the first game is against Chelsea, which is going to be a difficult fixture. I imagine Conte is going to want his side to keep improving, but then it's a home game against Burnley, and Burnley away were not that good last season. So Newcastle and Burnley are promising fixtures. The Wembley Stadium issue does kind of worry me as an FPL manager, but those fixtures still look considerable, and we know that Harry Kane does like scoring against London rivals. Now looking at Southampton, and Southampton again have some decent fixtures moving into the first 3 games of the season. They have Swansea at home for their first game, then they have West Ham away, and then Huddersfield away. Now there's 2 away fixtures there, but against West Ham at the London Stadium, which they didn't exactly make a fortress last season, and then against Huddersfield, those are 2 promising fixtures even though they are away. And then Swansea at home. They look like tasty fixtures to me. Southampton are changing manager though, but historically Southampton don't usually struggle too much with new manager acquisitions, so I'm not too worried about that. But of course that could drastically change. They could bring in someone that really doesn't work, but usually Southampton pick a good manager as their next one in charge. We then have Watford. Lots of people not looking at Watford, especially because of their first game against Liverpool at home. But then they have Bournemouth away and Brighton at home. So those 2 fixtures, Watford players could get something in. And you have to look at these teams to get those cheaper players so you can afford your Sanchez's, your Agueros, your Harry Kanes. Moving on to Liverpool. Now, Liverpool are very good at home and usually very good against bigger sides. So the 3rd fixture doesn't worry me as much. They start off with a game away against Watford, then a game at home against Crystal Palace. Now, hopefully, if they're trying to get an improvement on last season, they're going to want to win both of those games. And then against Arsenal, this is the type of game Liverpool really turned up in, at home at Anfield against a big side. So I could see a very good start for Liverpool, and the likes of Coutinho are going to be cemented in that side still as long as they don't leave. So you've got some very good options early on in that Liverpool side that you can rely on. Getting close to the end of this video now, and the fixtures of the teams I am recommending you look at for the start of the season. We're looking at West Brom. Now West Brom historically are quite good at getting clean sheets. It didn't happen last season, hopefully that will improve, but their defenders are also known for getting good returns in FPL. Now, it isn't always all of them getting good returns. Last season it was McCauley, the season before it was Craig Dawson, but West Brom defenders are good at getting points, and they have some decent options that could have a good purple patch like Nasir Chadli. Their first game is against Bournemouth. Bournemouth at home. You'd hope West Brom might get something against a Bournemouth side that seem to be better when they play at home, but you never know what that Bournemouth side are going to bring. They then have Burnley away. Now last season I relied on Burnley a lot when Burnley were at home to get points that people weren't expecting them to. So that might be a tough fixture for them, but then they have Stoke at home, and you never know what version of Stoke are going to turn up. They have some great players there. Sometimes it all clicks, sometimes it all doesn't, but West Brom could definitely pick up points for you in the first 3 game weeks of the season. And then finally we have Bournemouth. Bournemouth are playing West Brom away, Watford at home, and then have a very difficult 3rd tie against Manchester City. But those first 2 ties look very promising for them. Joshua King, if he's not too expensive, looks like a must-have. And maybe Bournemouth can improve their side around a player like Joshua King so they have a very good 2017-2018 season. That Manchester City game, of course, by that point you might want to bench your Bournemouth player, but West Brom and Watford are both very winnable games for a capable Bournemouth side. Anyway guys, that is all of the teams off of the first 3 game weeks I think we could be looking at players being brought into our FPL sides from. Of course, you never know, pre-season could change all of this, and the beginning of the season and the end of an FPL season are very hard to predict compared to the rest of the season, purely because we don't know how teams are going to come in and how well they're going to. Some big sides may have a slow start to the season, some smaller sides may have an absolute crazy ride at the beginning of the season, and sometimes carry it all the way to the end of the season like Leicester did. So those are my teams that I'm going to be looking at players from, although I'm going to be bringing in big players from the big sides no matter what, that I'm confident in consistently scoring points for me. Anyway guys, that is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're going to be trying at least 5 FPL videos a week. It's ambitious, but I'm focusing on this channel for the moment, fully committed. But hopefully we will get consistently good videos up for you leading into the FPL 2017-2018 season. I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.